everyone. We're a few minutes early. We just thought we'd get on live and wait for you all to join us for our scone baking workshop today. So we'll see who joins us. We've got Richard behind the camera.
Hello.
Mr. Boozy Bakers. And we've got Max, who is going to help with reading out some of your questions as we go along. We've got a makeshift tripod today as well to save Mr. Boozy Baker's hands. So if he gets a bit wobbly, he's moving the tripod, so hopefully he can keep that stable. But we are a bit early, so if you're with us and you're waiting alongside me, make sure you've washed your hands. We've done ours, so good opportunity to go and do that.
Yeah, they're all coming in with the thumbs up and hearts.
We've got 52 already.
Tom Keane is is here and ready to bake. And
excellent.
Katie Hogarth and Becky Smith are watching.
Hi, Katie. Just realised Becky as well. Yeah, hello.
Debbie Lynn's here and ready.
Excellent.
We don't want to cramp her baking style.
Don't cramp the baking style. I can feel there's a bit of a bake-off between you and your husband there. We have been reading all your comments. I've tried to get back to as many people as possible. So my son is sitting in the corner looking amazed. I don't know what's going on. I have something pointed at me. So any of your questions or the likes or emojis, I can't see, so it's being reported to me as I go.
113.
113. So if you've just joined us, we're not going to start yet. We're just waiting for others to join. But it's a great opportunity to wash your hands. So if you want to go and do that and get all prepared.
Mark Van Wyk has both sets of grandparents joining.
Oh, brilliant! I've got to say, I really enjoyed last week. It was really good fun, and we were beaming afterwards, and we got so many good responses from it.
We've got Dawn saying hi from Scotland, Dunoon.
Hi, Dawn. Yeah, we'll have to play out where are you from?
Susan from North Wales.
Hi, Susan from North Wales.
Lots of people ready to bake with their children.
Oh, excellent. We've done quite a bit of baking this week actually, and birthday cakes this week in the household too, so it's been fun. I know that there's people that have struggled to find certain ingredients, so we're going to help you where we can to use alternatives. How are we getting on? We've only just got to 2 o'clock I think, so we'll give it a couple more minutes.
Got hi from Hastings, hi from Waterlooville, hi from Henfield.
Hello to all of you.
From Ormskirk.
Fantastic.
Coming through fast.
That's good. More people the merrier, hey?
Got Norfolk and Shepperton.
Excellent.
Wayne from Kings Norton.
How are we doing?
We're up to 183 now.
Okay. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Again, if you haven't washed your hands, feel free to go wash your hands, and we'll wait for a few others, and then we'll crack on. I can always repeat things as people join if they're a bit later.
Sarah from Plymouth, Carol from Newcastle.
Oh, you're from all over. If we've got anyone from abroad, I know I translated a couple of Italian comments along the way in the week. So if my eyes go sideways, it's because Max is over that way, and I'm just seeing what he's up to as well.
Thomas is saying cheers for doing this, guys.
No problem at all. We're enjoying it too. We miss everyone, so we're used to doing events and getting out and about, and I talk for England, so it's nice to do this.
Technically overseas, we've had Alison from Guernsey.
That'll do for me. Hello, Alison.
We've got Hannah from Coventry, Louise from Chertsey. Helen saying it's really quiet. Can you be louder, please?
I will try to be louder. Is that better? If anyone else is struggling, let me know. If you can hear me well, give me a thumbs up. I think we'll use emojis today to try and communicate. So thumbs up for hearing me well. What's that?
Mrs. Specs.
Oh, Max has just spotted that. Mrs. Specs online. Hello, Elaine. Max is very excited.
We've got lots of thumbs up coming
Lots
through.
of thumbs up.
We've also got Bonnie, who is Canadian, but is calling from Warwickshire.
That'll do. So if you can't hear me, just check your volume as well on the side of your phone and make sure you've got it turned right up. There's a bit of a distance between me and the phone so you can see what we're doing. I will try to be louder though.
Lots of them coming through. Got over 226 now.
Okay, well we're 3 minutes past 2, so I think, well by my oven clock anyway, so I think we will make a start and then anyone joining in, we're going to go at a bit of a slower pace so that everyone can work at the same speed. What I'm going to ask is, as we do each stage, if you give me a thumbs up emoji, I know that we're kind of all on track and I won't go too fast for anyone, so I hope that's okay. Cue the thumbs up.
Just had Mark come back and hang on, we're trying to make Facebook work for some older people.
I have had that question actually of can we do this other than Facebook. Facebook Live's really useful. You're going to have to share an account if you've got people that aren't on Facebook.
And we've had people saying they've struggled with scones in the past, and Lynn said her husband wants her scones to be taller, so really need your help.
Okay, we're going to try. Interestingly, I've made some scones really quickly before this. Just wanted to try a few things to help anyone that doesn't have all the equipment. I'm really keen to do recipes that are quite versatile. We can add our own flavours to them, and it can use different things in the pantry that might have been there for a bit longer than you thought, or you don't know quite why you bought it. Or maybe you don't have cutters or you don't have a rolling pin. We've thought of all that, so I can show you my cut with a glass tumbler scones that I made earlier, because I do like a bit of a blue Peter here. Here's ones I made earlier. Right.
A couple of people found your freezing from time to time, but we're not having any issues on the other ones. So.
Okay, I'll try and repeat, so if you've missed something just let me know and I'll repeat it. And also, just to let you know, this video will be saved and posted on our page for you to follow along if you can't do this live or you want to have another go. Right, I'm assuming you have all washed your hands and you are now online and you are ready to go. So, the first thing you need to do is to weigh out, sorry I have prepared a few things, weigh out 225 grams of self-raising flour, and you need to add this to your bowl, as so.
We've had a few people asking, are we supposed to be drinking while doing this?
Well, you know what, we are boozy bakers, so I think that's entirely okay, and I'm a bit miffed that I don't have a gin and tonic to hand. There we go, yes. But you have to let me know what you're drinking, of course.
We have been asked, do we need to preheat the oven?
Yes, thank you very much. I know I forget something every single time. If you can preheat your oven to 200 degrees or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. For a fan, sorry, I'm getting the no. Celsius. 180 for a fan oven. And at the same time as doing that, if you get your baking tray and pop it in the oven now, because we want the baking trays to be hot. So I'm going to go and do mine, bear with me. There we go, I'm back. So,
Diane's on the lager shandy.
Lager shandy.
Paul, tea but wine chilling.
You know what, guys? Hang on. We're going to have to join in. Right, I'm back. I'm afraid I'm upping your shandy with a bit of champagne here. It's my leftover birthday champagne, so I shall have a little bit with you. There we go. Right. Oh, that feels much better.
A lot of people are asking about gas numbers. I'm not sure we use gas
Gas
anymore.
numbers. We will find out for you. Bear with me. Max, can you look up gas numbers, please? I'm very sorry, we don't use gas and I haven't looked it up yet, but we will find out. Can you do 180 converted to gas numbers, please? Or 200 converted to gas number? We're just finding out for you. So don't worry, because it'll have plenty of time to heat up. So I'll get back to you on that one. So you've got your self-raising flour. Now, you need a teaspoon of baking powder. I got asked earlier, can you use bicarbonate of soda? They do have different properties to them. So if you don't have baking powder, use a pinch of bicarbonate because it's 3 times more powerful than baking powder. So I'm going to use mine.
We're getting people actually giving us the information for gas.
Oh, thank you.
4 or 6 is what people are saying. So
thank you very much.
They've asked about heating the tray. Yes, you do. And
yes, put your tray in the oven.
And greasing the tray.
Either use parchment paper, or if you're haven't got a non-stick, then you can grease it. That's no problem. Yeah, feel free to ask as many questions as you like. I'm so well known for just zooming on ahead with what I know, and I forget the little bits. So do ask, and I'm quite happy to answer them, as will Mr. Boozy Baker.
How much baking powder did you put?
A teaspoon of baking powder. As again, if you're using bicarbonate, just a pinch. It's so much stronger than baking powder. And cheers. We did an interview for a local paper yesterday. It was my birthday, and I'd had a couple of glasses of champagne once they'd phoned. So I'm hoping my interview's all right. I was definitely on brand with the Boozy Baker. Right, so once you've got your flour and your baking powder in, can we have a thumbs up, and I will continue with what we're going to do depending on whether you're doing sweet or savoury.
Any advice on ratio of plain flour to baking powder to make self-raising?
Add a little extra. I don't think you're going to want too much more. Maybe do a teaspoon and a half. I'm sorry I can't be any more help on that. Excellent. Lots of thumbs up?
Yep.
Right. Okay, now, if you are doing savoury, so this is just if you're doing savoury, you want to add a pinch of salt. This is for cheese, but if you have it, some cayenne pepper. It's just a pinch of each. You can just use normal table salt. I'm just being a bit fancy pants and using this because I had it to hand. So I'm just doing about a pinch worth. There we go. And a bit of cayenne pepper. It's a bit like making cheese sauce. If you do cheese sauce, mustard is a really good added extra. And if you're doing scone, bit cayenne pepper. So it's probably, there we go. Don't want too much, otherwise the children won't eat them.
Does the flour need to be sieved?
You can sieve it, yes. If you haven't got a sieve, don't worry about it. I've done it both ways. You're going to put a bit more air in if you sieve it. I have made this more basic a recipe, so I'm sorry if I'm being a bit too basic. Please do sieve if you have one, but don't worry if you haven't.
And a few people are asking how much flour again.
225 grams of self-raising flour. So far, this is if you had the savoury. So we started off all together with the 225 of self-raising flour and a teaspoon of baking powder. And then if you're doing savoury, you're going to put in a pinch of salt and a pinch of cayenne. This is particularly if you're doing cheese with the cayenne. If you don't have it, don't worry. If you're doing sweet, do not put those in. I have had a few requests for do you put sugar in. We've gone for quite a basic recipe, but if you are doing sweet, obviously you can sweeten with your fruit, but you can put in a couple of dessert spoons, around 20-25 grams of sugar.
We just asked, Sam was going for sweet but already put a small amount of salt in. Can he wing it?
Yeah, that's fine. Loads and loads of baking recipes call for a pinch of salt into a sweet recipe, so you'll be fine.
And Caroline's asked, can they use ground almond?
Yes. Not as a complete substitute to flour, but as an extra, yes. You might want to take a bit of your flour out in replace to your ground almonds. If you're putting a tablespoon in, maybe half a tablespoon out of the flour, just so that you've got the right balance of powder to liquid. So how are we doing on that? Oh, we got a thumbs up with that so far. Of champagne whilst I wait. It's all gone quiet.
Yeah, no, they're coming through now.
That's all right.
Yep, they're all coming through.
I haven't got Erin in with me today, and Erin's really good at keeping me on track. But she got a bit nervous of the amount of viewers we were having.
Do you use an egg?
No, we're not using an egg in this recipe. You can do scones with recipes. You can do eggs in scone recipes. This one doesn't call for one.
And those who are using sugar, can they add that now?
Yes, if you're adding sugar, you can add that now.
And how much sugar would you advise?
I would say a couple of dessert spoons, about 20-25 grams.
Yep.
We're very much on the kind of lockdown recipes of winging it. So you can do so much with scones. You can add eggs, you can add buttermilk. I've done scones with lemonade before. Oh, and I don't know if you call your scones scones or scones. So I will try and vary it for any regional differences. And we're not going to get in at the moment to the whole jam and cream thing.
And the sugar, is it caster sugar? If you
caster sugar if you have it. If you don't, just use granulated. How are we getting on?
Yep.
Got some thumbs up?
Thumbs up. Yep.
Okay, right. So now I'm going to give, because I've got the cayenne pepper sitting on the top, I'm just going to give that a mix in, just to save my fingers a bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to add the butter. So I've cheated again and I've already cut mine up, but you're going to want just checking my amounts, 55 grams of butter. Chilled's good. If it's not chilled, that's not a problem. But you don't want to make it too warm during this. So if you have warm hands, you can pop them under the tap for a minute and make them a bit cooler, or just be careful how much you touch the butter. So we're going to add the butter, 55 grams, into your mix. If you are using margarine, if that's what you have, that's fine, but be aware that you will have a softer mix. It's not a problem, it's just something to be aware of as we go along, and I will help you with that. Yes, Max, are we alright?
Somebody has asked you if they can use buckwheat flour.
Yeah, I think as long as you're using a flour and it's got some raising agent in it, you will be fine. I think we've got quite a few alternatives going on. We did last week. We had pasta flour and strong bread flour being used, and I think everyone did pretty okay with their recipes. Right, so once you've got the butter in, we're going to use our hands and we're going to gently mix it in to create like a breadcrumb mix. Don't over mix because we want the butter to stay intact. You might find with the margarine it gets a bit softer. Don't worry, but let's get going and we'll see how we get on. So
those wanting sweeter recipes are asking how much sugar.
So 20 to 25 grams if you want to put some sugar into your sweet recipes.
And is butter salted or unsalted?
I am using unsalted. If you're doing savoury and you've got salted, use it. To be honest, you should be all right as long as you're adding the sugar. If all you've got is salted and you're doing a sweet, just make sure you add plenty of fruit. But I would say try to go for unsalted.
Right, so thank you to everyone who's repeating some of the quantities as well of the items and helping Michelle out.
Thank you. I've watched a few online things, and I know that for some people it will cut in, cut out. I know we struggle when we've got everyone on the laptops, or you're talking to a partner and you miss something. So happy to repeat. So just a recap: we've got 225 grams of self-raising flour with a teaspoon of baking powder, and then if you have a savoury recipe, you've added a pinch of salt and perhaps a pinch of cayenne. If you're doing sweet, you would have added 20 to 25 grams of sugar, and now we've just put butter in, which is 55 grams of butter, and we are using our fingers to gently mix the butter in to create like a breadcrumbs. So I've just managed to tip it over my apron. That's why we wear aprons. And you can see mine's starting to come together. It looks more flour than anything else.
How much fruit if you want to make fruit scones?
So if you are going to put fruit in next, you want to be using around 50 grams. You can. I did my some fruit ones earlier. I added 50, and that was plenty. So you could get away with 30 or 40 handful. Whatever you have. I wouldn't put any more than 50 grams in though.
Can the sweet scones be scones be made without adding fruit? I don't have any raisins.
Yeah, absolutely. Just have plain scones. You can put in, and we've had quite a few different variations come through I've seen on the messages of what people are using. You can use chocolate chips, a bit of fudge, you can use cherries, sultanas.
We've got someone doing cranberries, and we've got another one making leek and bacon ones, so fingers crossed.
Oh, that sounds really good. Right, mine's about done. So I can see that I've got some bigger bits and some finer bits. That's fine. It all feels quite combined though, and I don't want to touch the butter too much that I risk it melting. So I'm just going to brush my hands off for a minute. It's not ideal. If you've got a sink and you're not doing a live video, you can do that instead.
Tracy's got dates and coconut work too.
Oh, yummy. And this is what I love about this, and why I don't want to make it too prescriptive, because it's so much fun seeing what you all come up with and what you use to make it your own and to use what we've got in the cupboards. That is the whole idea of this, is to just have a go at doing something which is an activity we can all do together, keep us entertained, and use what we've got in the cupboards.
Do you warm the milk?
No, I don't. But if you would like to warm the milk, if that's something that you have heard works, then please go ahead. Just be careful not to make it too hot.
And Carol's using a chili cheese or a chilled cheese.
Maybe a chili cheese. I did hear someone was going to use a chili cheese. So cheese-wise, if you are doing savoury, you can use a mixture. I know Richard used, Mr. Boozy Bakers, used a nice, is it Red Leicester? Yeah. And that was really tasty and added a bit of a nuttiness to it. We're just going for a mature cheddar at the moment because that's what we've got. But you can add a mix, whatever you have. So have we got a thumbs up for that? Have we all got a bit of a breadcrumb mix going on?
Yeah, they're just asking about would they add the fruit now?
So yes, I'm just about to move on to that bit. I just want to check that we're all up together with the mixed breadcrumbs. So if you can give me a thumbs up if we're there with the flour.
Yeah, they're flying in.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So now, if you are doing cheese, you need to add around 90 grams. If you've got 70, just use 70. I've done different mixes, but a good amount of cheese, keeping some back to put on top later. If you're using fruit, about 40-50 grams of fruit. If you want to add that now, that's great. Now, obviously, the cheese ones, they might be grating theirs, so we'll give them a bit of time to do that. If you want to add any spices or anything, if you're getting a little bit adventurous, you could do that now.
So, Debbie, we have one batch of garlic and herb cheese on the family bake-off.
Oh, is this Debbie Stimpson?
Yeah.
Oh, I love your family bake-offs.
Bev is baking scones and hubby is baking bread, all going on there.
Oh, very nice. So I'm going to start with a bit of a wooden spoon now, just to save my hands. But you can keep using your hands if you want. So I'm just mixing my cheese in. It's a good time to add your fruit now because it gets coated in the flour. So when you make them, you don't end up with everything sinking to, well, the dough anyway. But if you're ever doing a fruit cake or a sponge cake and you're putting fruit in, coat it in the flour, and then the fruit is more even rather than sinking to the bottom.
Sarah's doing wild garlic and cheese and adding sultana. Katie's asking would they add chocolate chips now?
Yeah, yeah.
Vanilla essence, do I put it in?
Yeah. Actually, no. If you haven't already, leave that until you add your milk, and then you're adding all your liquid in together.
Trish asking why wooden spoon?
Why? Because that's what I had to hand. If you want a metal spoon, you can do. Metal spoons are actually, if you ever cook a cake, I would recommend using metal rather than wood. It's to do with the air, knocking the air out. But I just didn't want to use my hands. But you can use a metal spoon.
We've got lemon and blueberry ones going as well.
Oh, yum. I love how adventurous you all are and getting it all out. It's fun. So we've got some thumbs up to that. It's my cheese graters I'm worried about. They might need they might be grating like crazy.
Getting a few asking about how much cheese again and how
So
much fruit.
I've added about 90 grams of cheese. I am aware that you might not have that much or might not want to put that much in. I did some the other day which used 70 grams and they were brilliant too. So depends how cheesy you want them really.
Some thumbs up, a couple still grating, so
That's
give
fine,
them longer.
no problem.
Got someone's using wheat flour now, but could they use coconut flour?
Yeah, I think so. I think as long as you have a raising agent in there and you have a flour, you're fine.
And we've got a couple of people telling us the scone is when it's gone.
Scone is when it's gone. I like that. See, I'm from the Midlands originally, and I've become quite southern. I don't know if a scone or a scone is more northern or southern. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. I'm going to have to go back up to the Midlands and see what I say, because my accent changes quite quickly.
Which milk is best?
So we're using semi-skimmed, isn't it, in the fridge?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're using semi-skimmed. I would imagine if you use a full fat one, you will have a richer scone, and if you use a completely skimmed milk, it won't be as rich. But whatever you have.
Could you use almond flour to make scones?
I would have thought so. I think you just make sure it's flour based. Yeah.
We've got more using cranberries. We've got red pepper and mature cheddar and blueberry and lemon.
Good combinations going on there.
Janet says, now she hasn't actually covered the pronunciation, but she put scone or scone is northern.
Which one's northern?
Don't know. Just
Is it if we say scone with an E and scone without the E?
Scone for the Midlands, says Kerry.
Scone. See, that's where my accent's changed then. See, I say grass rather than grass now. I kind of miss it.
Can you use almond milk?
Yeah, I think as long as it's a liquid and it's milky, you will be fine.
And can you use UHT milk?
Yes, absolutely. Right, how are we doing? Are the graters grated?
Yep, thumbs up.
Got lots of thumbs up? Okay, right, so now, I'm just going to check that I haven't missed anything, but I haven't. Right, so now we are going to get the milk, and you need around 90 to 100 ml. Don't pour it all in at once though, because one thing I will say about the various flours you're using is they will all absorb milk in different ways. Some will need more, some will need less. So use about 80 ml and then see how you're going. Mr. Boozy Baker's laughing. What are the comments?
Lots of people saying scone is northern, Scottish, it's Midlands.
Oh, it's such a debate, isn't
And
there?
yet I've still seen someone say scone is southern as well.
Right, so I've left a bit of the milk in just so I can see what it needs, and I'm just going to start mixing this in now. Again, it doesn't need over mixing. I want to keep that butter from melting, although I'm using a spoon now so it hasn't got the warmth of my hands.
Yen just wants to check, do we add the salt and baking powder before the milk?
Yes, so add the baking powder, all the dry ingredients first and then the liquid. So yeah, the baking powder and the salt before you add that. What we're looking for is a soft but firm dough that we can roll out. If you don't have a rolling pin, don't worry. I made some earlier without a rolling pin. So mine's coming together, but I'm going to use a bit more of that milk just to combine it a bit more. But still got some in there, see? Just doing it bit by bit. Otherwise you're going to have to start adding, if you overdo it and you've got a sticky mix, then you're going to have to add a bit more flour to bring it back together again. We got many children doing this today.
There's been a lot of people saying their children are doing it or they're there with their children doing it.
Oh, that's excellent. I have had quite a few people that I've seen say we haven't managed to get some of the ingredients and haven't been able to bake. So the chances are they're not actually watching me right now. But we have thought about that, and for people that are local to us, we have come up with an idea to help. with all the ingredients being sent to your door. So we'll talk about that a bit later.
When would you add vanilla essence?
So yes, sorry, with the milk. Yeah, so just pour it in with the milk.
We've also had almond extract and
Yeah, and so basically all the dry first, and then your liquids.
So Yen, 11-year-old and 14-year-old are doing it. Kath,
Well done.
10-year-old and 3-year-old sons.
Hello.
Bavita is doing an 11-year-old daughter in the garden.
Oh, well done. It's a nice day for it, actually, isn't it? So that's what my mixture's looking like right now. Whoops. And I'm just tipping it out onto the table. Right. So I'm going to use my hand to bring that together now and combine it, because I don't want it to be too sticky. So if I can try not to tip it out the bowl this time. You can see that's coming together, and I can feel the moisture, but it's not sticking to my hand. So I've got that into quite a nice ball now.
Those say theirs looks really dry. Do they add a bit more milk?
Add a bit more milk, yeah. If you've added more than your jug's worth, that's fine. Don't worry. Just put a little bit more in, but just do it gradually so you can control it. So you're looking for a ball. If you had margarine, you might find that you need less liquid because you've got a softer spread that you're using. Max, can I hand these to you, please, love? Yep. Thank you.
Jill has Imogen, age 8, getting very possessive over her mix.
Hi, Imogen.
Some are again asking about when to add the vanilla essence.
Yeah, with your liquid.
And if people have made it too sticky, when do they? How much flour should they add?
So just do a dessert spoon at a time. Just mix it, and as I said, it's not sticking to me, but I can feel it's quite soft. So that's what you're looking for. Just going to drink the milk. Stick to the champagne, I think.
Gone quiet, so I'm
It's
assuming.
gone quiet. So we've got thumbs up. Has everyone got a ball of dough in front of them? If you give us some thumbs up, then we know that you're with us.
We've got cousins Gemma and Dylan comparing theirs. Well, Gemma's 11-year-old Lily from Somerset will be.
Is that Gemma from Somerset?
Yeah, Gemma's from Somerset.
Hi, Gemma.
Thumbs up, flying in.
Yeah, excellent. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a bit of the flour onto the table, just to help so that the scone doesn't stick to our table. So I'm just going to put out dessert spoons amount. I'll put this back and keep things nice and tidy as I go. So I'm just going to spread that out with my hand. Hopefully you can still see that. Can they see the table there?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, if you don't have a rolling pin, don't worry, you can just use the palm of your hand. If you do have a rolling pin, great, use that. I've done both today, so I'm going to show you my ones that I made rather rustically without any rolling pin or cutter. So I've put a bit of flour over my rolling pin just to stop it from sticking to the scone. Keep going to do that? That's not right, is it? No. I'm going to keep doing that. Right, so now you want to roll out till you get to about 2 centimetres. Depends how you like your scones, really. But about 2 centimetres in depth, or about an inch, if you want them a bit deeper. Now, you can make these bigger or smaller depending on what size scone you have, how many people you have in your house. I used an 8 centimetre. Now this is a bit interesting because I use an 8 centimetre cutter and I get 4 scones. Mr. Boozy Baker does it and he gets 6 scones. So you might find it depends on how much fruit or cheese you've added. But if you can get it into a dough, roll it out, think about how many mouths you are feeding or how big you want your scone to be. But mine's about 2 centimetres in depth. Are we alright Is everyone with us?
Yeah.
I don't want to rush ahead too much.
Couple of messages. Julia has Lexi and Imogen, and they're loving this.
Hi, Lexi and Imogen.
Jess, Freya is in Bristol, aged 11. Mummy is supervising with a bottle of bud.
Hi, Freya. Did I get the right person?
Yeah, Jess and Freya.
Jess and Freya, well done.
Jules has just asked what flour, please, and it's been answered anyway. Self-raising or other with raising agent. So.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for anyone that's commenting for me.
And Dawn has got the ruler out.
Yeah, I've got to say, I don't know if it's confidence or what, but I just tend to go by feel and how much I want to eat. That tends to guide me. If I'm hungrier, they get thicker.
Got Freya in Eastbourne, she's aged 6.
Well done, Freya.
And can you just repeat the last couple of stages again? A couple have lost their connections, they're just
That's okay.
rejoining us.
So what did I do? We added the cheese, or you add your fruit at that time, and then we added about 90 to 100 ml of milk into our dry mix. If you want to add any other essences, you do that. Just add it gradually because you want a soft dough, but you don't want it sticky. And we were saying if it does get sticky, you're going to have to add another dessert spoon of flour and mix it until you get a nice soft but firm dough.
Tracy's got Sophie with her, who's loving it, and she's aged 10.
Hi, Sophie.
And Juliana is baking from Portugal.
Oh, hello from Portugal. Excellent. Nice to see. Hope
Gail,
you're all right over there as well.
Gail's doing this virtually with her daughter-in-law Kim in her house.
Excellent.
And my house.
I've seen a few
hers will win.
Yeah, I've seen a few people that are doing FaceTime as well, or Zoom meeting as well as this, so that's great fun.
We've got Anna and Ferrum, 22.
That still counts, it's fine.
Lynn, my surface is so much more messy. How are you keeping it so tidy?
My surfaces, I hand things to my 10-year-old son. So it just disappears into a sink somewhere. I think that's probably key. Whenever you watch a baking show and they get a bit like, oh, you watch the Bake Off and it goes a bit crazy, is because you just need to keep things kind of put away. So I've got my spoons I've used in my ramekin where I had my butter, so I just try and keep things out of the way a bit. Right, shall we move on
We've
to...
got Elisabetta baking from Italy. Ciao.
Oh, ciao! So if you haven't got a cutter, I did have one and I washed it up, bear with me. Where is it gone? Oh, I use this. I did have one, I don't know where I put it.
You put water in it.
I probably did put water in it. So if you have a glass, you can use that upside down to cut out some shapes, or use a cutter. If you have, you might have a shaped one with a nice frilly edge, they're great. I can't find mine, so I've just got my round cutter. So whatever you have, mine's 8 centimetres, but I create about 4 with mine. I don't know what I do. I must make them slightly thicker. Mr. Boozy Bakers gets 6 out of his, or go for smaller scones. So I'm going to press down and just punch out. If you are using the glass and you're pressing down, if you just push it up at an angle, it will fall out. So I'm going to just push out. You have to tell me how many you make because Mr. Boozy Baker thinks I do something wrong. Because actually he should be doing this because he's brilliant at cheese scones. So.
I'm in makeup too long to be in front of the camera.
So I've missed a bit there, but you know what, I quite like a rustic bake, so I'm going to leave it like that. And then with my extra, I'm going to make my 4th. I told you I make big ones. So I'm just going to reform, just to make it a bit smooth. If you don't have a smoother mix, it's not a problem, but you might find it will look like a rock cake and a bit craggy rather than smooth sides. Still tastes the same.
So Lorraine's made 8 small ones, Lynn's made 5. Your mum's kindly commented, traditionally fluted for sweet and plain cutters for cheese.
Oh, I've done it right! Yay, thanks Mum! I must say, my mum, who obviously is watching, is very good in the kitchen. She's taught me from a young age. I think I was about 4 when we got in the kitchen. My brother went on at about 13 to do Junior MasterChef with Lloyd Grossman. She was the one last week who I unfortunately missed out saying with the biscuit recipe, if anyone did the biscuit one with us last week, when we were rolling them into sausages and storing them in the fridge so that they stayed chilled and you could use them as you wanted them. That is my mum's suggestion, and she got it from her mum.
So, a few more people, how many they've made. Lindsay, 5, although she'll pretend she made 4 for when her partner gets home.
See, I'm just honestly really greedy and I like a big scone.
Elizabeth, 7 cheese. Yvette, 8 small ones. Julie, 7 cheese. Karen, 7. Sam, 7 flower shapes.
Very nice.
Helen, 6. Carol, 6. Sian, 12 petite ones. Karen, 6. Denise, 6. Kim, 5 sweet. Laurie, 8 cranberry.
You do want to see photos, by the way. We love seeing the biscuit ones last week, so you are going to have to send us the photos. Max, could I have a pastry brush, please? There might be one. I think I've used them all today. I've done lots of baking today. There's one by the side next to you, the red one. Thank you, sweetheart. Thanks. See, I've got extra hands. So with the pastry brush, I'm going to use a bit of my leftover milk and I'm going to put it over the top of my cheese scones. You could do this for sweet or savoury, put a bit of milk on the top. You can use egg yolk for the glaze. It's just uses an egg, and I know that we're all struggling with ingredients, so I'm just using what we've been using, which is the milk. But feel free to use an egg if you want to, but I am doing a milk glaze and I'm just using a brush. If you don't have a brush, you could use a bit of kitchen towel, or even a finger, just put your finger and smudge it on top. So that's my cheese scones down there. Now I'm not putting them straight onto the baking tray because I've still got that in the oven. So I will go and get that in a minute, but I wanted to show you, are they still on screen? We're right there. And then I am going to use my cheese. So for you savoury people that are doing cheese scones, I am going to use some of my cheese and put it on top. Got any questions coming in, or is everyone all right?
They're all right.
No, they're okay. I will say that this week there was news about whether you glaze scones as well with milk or eggs. So
was there?
you can do it, but for cheese ones it's easier to just use the cheese.
Well, I've still put the milk on for the cheese scones, and it will help it stick to the top as well. Although the minute they go in the oven, they'll melt onto them.
I've also used the milk ones, when I was making my cheese scones at my school.
Yeah, Max is saying he used milk at his school to make the scones. How are we doing? Is everyone with us?
Yeah, they're all. Yeah, we're getting lots of, anywhere between 4 and 8 are being made. Obviously 12, 14 small ones, but yeah, loads.
You have to be careful, because if I make extra, but it's an odd number, then there's going to be arguments in the house.
How do we stop the raisins from burning?
So if you've got raisins, try not to have them right near the top. But to be honest, I will show you the ones that I made earlier, which I used sultanas. And they haven't burnt, so you should be fine. You're putting them in the oven for between 15 and 20 minutes. The smaller ones you're going to probably need less time because there's less surface area and they don't have to cook all the way into the middle to such an extent as the big ones. So are we all there with the scones in front of us? We've got thumbs up for we have ready scones.
Just checking on temperature of the oven.
So you should have it preheated to 200 degrees or 180 for fan assisted. We've put the trays in the oven. If you haven't done that, don't worry. It helps with the baking if you have the tray in the oven, which we addressed at the start. But don't worry if you haven't done that. You can either put it all on now and keep your scones on the side and wait, or you can pop them in with us. So I'm going to go and get my tray now. Just make sure you've got your oven gloves, because remember it's going to be hot. So bear with me. Right, so I've got my tray here, and I'm going to pop on my scones, my scones. There we go. And once they're on, I'm going to put them in the oven. Sorry, apparently I'm not in shot. I'm going to
Bring them closer.
bring them
So people
closer.
can see.
There you go. Is that showing? So I'm going to put those in the oven, and I'm going to bake them between 15 and 20 minutes. I'll come back, hang on. Bear with me.
Rebecca Sadler's just asked parchment paper.
So that's parchment paper. You can use baking paper. If you feel confident with your tins that they won't stick, you can put them straight onto a tray. That's not a problem. Ours have probably been a bit overused, so I do like a bit of parchment paper between. You alright, Max? I can't hear anything he said. No, not yet, Max. Once you've got those in the oven, set the timer. They said 15 to 20 minutes until they're golden brown. I've put mine on for 19. I use my oven every day, and I've baked the cakes earlier, so I know mine take a bit longer because they're bigger. But if you've made the smaller ones, you're going to need less time. So just keep an eye on them and make sure that you take them out a bit earlier. So they'll be in the oven now. Once they're out, take them out and then give them a few minutes, and then if you have a rack, you could transfer them onto a rack. If you're wanting to eat them warm, you can give them a few minutes and they'll be ready. Now I did say I made some earlier.
People are asking where in the oven.
So I've just got them in the centre of the oven, just so that I've got a fan so it can get all around them. You could probably, if you're baking a couple at the same time, put them in at different heights. You're probably going to know your oven better than I will, so try to keep them centre if you can.
And can you put the dough into cupcake cases?
Yeah, can't see why not. If we've got a softer dough, maybe. The other thing you can do if they've got soft is to put them in the fridge for a bit and let them set a bit. Yes, Max?
We have somebody saying that she lost sound and she doesn't know how long to bake for. Can you hold up fingers?
Okay, so for in the oven, 15 to 20 minutes. So, no problem at all. Right, I'm making a bit of a mess here. I was going to show you what I did earlier. So these are my rustic ones I made using fruit in typical Blue Peter fashion. So these were made without a roller, just pressing down and using the glass to push down on them. So the edges may not be as neat, but we got some fruit scones there as well.
Should you open the oven door at all?
I don't, no. I tend to let them do their thing. But if you have a trick with that, feel free to share. Thing is, scones, we've made more because we can't always get hold of bread. We can't get hold of bread or yeast particularly. So we have our sliced bread when we go out for our essential shop. But in between that, just to have something fresh, sometimes we have a cheese scone with a bit of salad for our lunch. But it's not something that we've made massively before this. Very much about the cakes and brownies and marshmallows usually. So happy to hear any tricks for scones.
Does it matter they're on 2 trays over 2 heights?
No, you'll be fine.
Lots of people thanking you already, and what you're making next time.
Yeah. So I haven't thought about our next free workshop yet. I will put my thinking cap on for that. We have thought about doing pizza making, but you've got a bit of a... I think that might be the one we're doing next, but I'm not sure. So you have to wait whilst I just have a think. But I did want to share with you, because one of the things that we've heard time and time again is not being able to get hold of all the ingredients. So I'm really sorry, and I apologise to people that are a bit further away. We're thinking about how we can get this in the post in some form. But for people that are in a PO7 or a PO8 postcode in Hampshire, we have put together an all the ingredients box to make cupcakes. I'm going to go and get it to show you. Bear with me. So we're thinking about doing a workshop which will be separate from this, and it's got everything you need. Don't know if you can see that. Everything you need, including the buttercream in a piping bag, the egg, the butter, the dry ingredients. There's sprinkles and rice paper toppers all to decorate the cake cases. So everything you need to make cupcakes at home. And then we would do a workshop for these boxes. Bear with me. And again, I've got a nice blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier. To make these, that has been used entirely from that box mix, so there's no kind of nozzles or any extras. That is exactly what comes in them. The toppers might vary depending on what we think's
Magic
more popular.
hand.
Magic hand there. I'm just going to keep my hand there as well, just in case it tips. But we're going to do those boxes and hand deliver them. We're not going to trust those eggs with anyone else but ourselves. So we're going to hand deliver. Where are they best? There.
Yeah,
we're going to hand deliver those to the PO7 and PO8 area. They are £15, which includes the delivery and a workshop. They're not online or anything yet. I think what we'll probably do is say, if you would like to have a go at our cupcake workshop and have us deliver the whole box of ingredients to you, is to message our page and we can contact you about that. We have got an online shop to buy treats. If you don't want to bake but you want a sweet treat, you can go to boozybakers.co.uk, and we have an online shop filled with cakes and brownies. There's birthday cakes on there, slices of cakes, marshmallows. We've just updated the marshmallow stock, and they're Boozy, those ones actually. So you can go on there. We haven't put these boxes on there yet, just simply for the fact that it's quite a narrow group with the locality, but we will give it some thought as to wider areas. Have I got some comments coming in?
Lots. I'm keeping up. It's very
Sorry,
difficult.
I'll stop talking and listen to you.
Some people are asking about PO9 as well, so we'll see what we can do going forward.
Yeah, message us with your interest. If we get enough deliveries, then we might push it further afield. What we don't have the capability of doing is going all over the country, but if you're local to PO7 or PO8, just message us to say that you are interested in a box, and we'll see what we can do. If we've got a number of deliveries, then we might be able to venture out that bit further.
Becky saying really enjoyed this, first time scone maker.
You might even get them out in time to tell us how they went.
Any tips how not to waste the leftover flour from the table, or does it need chucking?
Well, you can. Mine's got a bit of cheese in mine, but you can always tip it into a bowl like this. So I've got a bit of extra cheese in there. You could tip it in, and then when you next make scones, you could use that flour. Put some cling film over it just to stop any dust getting in, and then you can use that as part of your self-raising flour for next time. So yeah, all for not wasting anything.
How tall should they rise to?
Well, mine. You want about two. Well, hang on. I'm really bad at measurements. What would you say? About 1.5 inches, something like that. Yeah.
How can you tell when they are done?
So they should be nice and golden brown. It's unlike bread; they're not really going to tap when they're hollow, are they? So just nice and golden brown. And if you've made 4, just make sure that you've given them probably about 18 to 20 minutes in your oven. Remember that when they're out, they're still going to be hot, so they'll still cook a bit longer when they're out of the oven for a couple of minutes. If they're smaller, if you've made little petite ones, just check on them at about 15 minutes, because you're probably going to have them ready.
Jane, thank you for today. Also, thank you for the personalised bunny cake at Easter ordered and sent up north to my mum-in-law, whose husband is currently in hospital. She cried tears of joy. Thank you.
Oh, I'm really glad. It's really good to make people feel better. So I'm glad that she got that, and I wish him well.
Natalia, bacon savoury scones with cheese, garlic and peppermint, topped with cheese and sesame.
Yum. Tell us how those go.
Arabella made hers all by herself.
Well done, Arabella.
There is asked for bread making, soda bread, no yeast.
Yeah, I have thought that might be a good one actually, so maybe we could do soda bread.
Pizza would be good.
Okay, okay?
Yeah.
I think we did pizza making as a family in the week, and we did enjoy that. It was a bit of a takeout kind of experience. So we're going to keep running these because they're fun for us, and hopefully they're fun for you. And we'll try to diversify. I know that some people can't get hold of the ingredients. I did think about doing a completely all egg. I made meringue lollipops in the week, but you won't hear me because the whisk's on all the time. So
much like we say Scone's different, we say our PO7 postcode is LE12. Guess you don't deliver that.
I wish. We might do dry ingredients in the post with different recipes. I don't know if there's any interest. If there is, let us know, because a lot of what we do is quite organic. It's what there is a response to. So if you like the idea of us sending you some dry ingredients to do workshops, then we can do that. But we just need to know if you want it.
Helen wants to thank you for encouraging her to bake again after about 20 years.
Oh, excellent. That's really good to hear.
Denise asks, how do we share a photo of ours? Theirs are already out.
So you can post it to our page. I've got to admit, I need to ask someone how to share when you post the page, or message me directly, and I'm going to make a big layout of all the different... but you can message our page with your photos.
Bread workshop would be great for focaccia or pretzels. Lots and lots of thank yous.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yes, Max. Oh, I've got an offer to tidy up my table from my 10-year-old son. Max, come here. So he's been my little, as well as Mr. Boozy Bakers, Max has been helping me out and making sure I've got things that I've forgotten. So thank you very much. Did you enjoy it?
You're welcome. Yeah, I loved it.
Max wants to do a YouTube video for Boozy Bakers. So it's a bit out of my comfort zone, but if we can get round to it, I think you're going to have a go, aren't you?
Yeah.
When you take them out, do you put straight onto cooling rack or leave on tray?
So I leave on the tray for a minute or two, and then I transfer, as soon as I can handle them, I transfer onto a rack.
And Manaxi's got in with the Boozy Bakers side of things, made limoncello scones, but it smells amazing.
Oh, he's made them, has he? Oh, he has made them?
Manaxi's made them, yeah.
Fantastic. Now, is that going to be served with your own lemon curd?
Request for quiche.
Okay. That's going to require a lot of egg. I hope you've got it. I've tried to reduce the amount of eggs that we use.
Gluten-free bread would be good. Lots of well done Maxes as well.
It has been very good. I'm very excited to be part of these. It's quite good for our kids too. Erin got very, very nervous about being on camera this week, so we'll try and encourage her back for next week because she was excellent with the biscuit making.
A couple of people think they've done them a bit too thin, but they are rising. So
hopefully they'll be good. Ours has got another 6 minutes on, but they do look like they're rising. So I thought it would be a nice afternoon treat to have in this. Hopefully everyone's got good weather. We've got some nice sun. So I don't know if you saw my picture, but Mr. Boozy Bakers made me a very nice champagne cream tea yesterday for my birthday, which is lovely to have outside. So I'm going to treat him to my cheese scones. He can have those outside in a minute.
Simon's asked, will you be doing these free workshops weekly?
Yeah, we'll try and do another one next week. Obviously we're still baking as well. So this morning I've made a celebration cake, brownies. What else have we made? Scones, the cupcakes from our kit. So it's just trying to make sure that we're on top of our orders, come up with the idea, make sure that we've got everything we need for it, advertise it. But we will do it, and I will try and get that online either this afternoon or tomorrow. So look out for that. If you haven't already, if you like and follow Boozy Bakers, you can be kept up to date with what we're doing. But we would like to do this every week because it's fun and it's something to do together. And it's just as nice as well seeing all your bakes being posted to us and the responses. It's really nice. Are we good?
Yeah, I got to ask, could you show how deep yours have risen, please?
I can. I will hang on. Obviously, if you're finished and you want to leave our live workshop, it's no problem at all. Enjoy your scones. But we will hang on until ours are out the oven and I will show you. And I'm hoping that they work because that'd be really embarrassing if they didn't.
And Max, Mrs. Spexler, it's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's enjoying his weekend. Max has still got very much in online classes, so he disappears onto his laptop for quite a long time. So it's nice to have him with us and baking with us in the kitchen. We're going to have a play with the kit that we've put together and make sure it's kid friendly. But we do star baker parties as well. We travel a bit further normally with those when we're not in lockdown, and we run classes for children, and that's under our sister page, Star Baker Parties. So we do various activities with those, which is why we thought we'd start with the cupcakes.
Can you freeze them?
The scones, yes, absolutely you can. Put them in a sealed bag and pop them in a container and pop them in the freezer.
And Janice said, husband's clearing up the bomb site, thanks for your help.
That's what my husband does.
I know what that feels like.
Most of the time. Lucy, every time I've been making brownies and I'm just like passing whisks and just hope it all gets washed up for me. We had a very good apprentice working with us as well, Aidan, and I don't know if he'll be watching, but he was so good at keeping me organised, and we do miss him in the kitchen whilst we're on lockdown.
And Debbie's asked, do I put a knife in them to check cooked, please?
You can. Hopefully they'll be done, but if you're not sure, you could. I think you need to be a bit confident that they are. There's no yeast, so you're not going to be ill if they're slightly underdone. But I find that they kind of break away. You should be able to kind of almost pull them in half with your, if you're feeling really brave.
Andrea said, how do you know when they're cooked enough? Should they be soft to touch?
They will still be slightly soft when you pull them out with the heat, and they will get harder and set more. So they are hard now, but when we pulled them out they would have had softness to them. It's golden brown. If they're golden brown and they smell done, they're most likely to be done. If you think they could withstand a bit more time in the oven, put them back in for a couple of minutes.
And Kath's quickly made a second batch as there's so many in the house. Thank you, great fun.
I know, it's the problem, isn't it? You make them and they're gone. So good idea to up the quantities and make more. Oh, it's my little warning. I've got a couple of minutes if you want to hang on and check out ours. I'll keep my fingers crossed they have worked. Mac's gone to keep an eye on them. Or trying to Bagsy the biggest one or the cheesiest one knowing Max. Yeah, Mr. Moo's busy making green. Got any more questions, or are we all having them baked? They're coming out the oven now?
Yeah, was watching the oven as split flour when they were in and accidentally paused the oven. Only just realised, will they be okay?
What's happened, sorry?
I think the oven's paused during cooking.
Okay, so I've had that happen with my oven. It suddenly had an error code and stopped working. You've still got the heat in there, so keep the door closed, set the temperature and keep going. If you're unsure of how long they've been in, check the colour. If they haven't got any colour to them, try, if you've done bigger ones, try 10 minutes. If you've done smaller ones, try 7.
Getting lots of people saying they smell amazing.
Good! Well, all the flavours you lot are doing, I bet it does. Actually, I've just got the smell of ours now. I can just start smelling them, and that's a good sign that they're done when you can smell them wafting up out the oven. Unfortunately, the children don't do sultanas, so these will be a treat for me and Mr. Boozy Bakers. Unfortunately, our cream didn't quite. I don't know what happened to the clotted cream. I think we've bought it and it's been frozen before we've bought it because it's just not quite right. But it's still enjoyable. Yeah, we've got 9 seconds left, so we're going to beep in a second. And I will get them out and we'll see how we've done. Fingers crossed they look good, but they smell good. Bear with me.
Okay.
Oh, watch yourself, sweetie. You okay? Don't want to hurt you.
Oh, those look good. Can I have that one?
See, you've bagging them already. So there you go. I don't know if you can see those. They smell pretty good. Got some nice round edges on those. I will see how, Max, you can't pinch it yet, you will burn yourself. So yeah, they feel slightly soft on the sides, but you can see there's a little bit of spring to the top, but I'm quite satisfied that they will be done. As I said, you can see some rise, they've risen on the side. Am I pointing in the right direction? Can they see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
There's some rise on the side, they're nicely browned, they smell done, so I'm very confident. I think that's the lightest, and that's still springy to the touch, but it smells good. Max, behind Daddy there is a wire rack. Could you get that for me, please, and pass it round, and I can put these down. So obviously I would normally tidy up my surface before putting other things on. Put it down a bit. There we go. But we'll be fine to do that for now. So I will put those down, and I will wait, I don't know, 5 minutes, and I'd imagine that they're going to get eaten by the rest of the family with a bit of butter and maybe a wedge of cheese in those, if they haven't been cheesed out already. So I think that's it really. So unless there's any big questions coming up, I'm going to let you get on with your scones. Hopefully you have some in front of you now to enjoy with a cup of tea or a different drink of your choice. We look forward to seeing your comments. And as I said, if you are interested in our complete, all the ingredients with cases and decoration cupcake kits, and you live in PO7 or PO8 or nearby and you're interested, get in touch, just message our page on Boozy Bakers, and we can see what the interest is in those. They're going to be £15, hand delivered to your door. Obviously with social distancing, they'll be left on the doorstep. But they can have everything, and if you're interested in us putting together some dry ingredients kits, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. But we do need to hear from you, and we'll react accordingly as to what people want. Right, thank you very much for joining us. Go and enjoy the rest of your weekend in this lovely weather. Thank you.